Hello, everyone. Yes, Pro Wrestling Inside and Out is on the air, and we're going to be talking professional wrestling. Jack, it's been a long time. Rodney, it's been a long time, but we are back. We took our couple of months off, but we are back, and we'll be here every Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions, comments, you have to tell us off for whatever reason, this is the time to do so. Jack, what's been going on in the world of professional wrestling since we last spoke?
Well, from what I remember, there's not a lot going on unless you're associated in some way with Vince McMahon. And then there's a tremendous amount of stuff going on. And, and I'm telling you, we have not seen the end of the head rolling that's going to come from all of this. It's a terrible look for our industry. It's a very, very terrible look for WWE itself. Um, Got to give WWE credit, or TKO at least, that they're smart enough that they're doing stuff right now to try to take the eyes away from that news story. And they're doing a fairly good job of it. Because The Rock coming back is something that everybody has been asking for years. So we get it, and then they don't want it. They want Cody. and and instead of throwing up their hands, they have turned this into probably the best part of this whole bloodline angle so far.
Yes.
There are some brilliant people in there putting their minds together, and a lot of those people have been there. They just never got listened to until Triple H took over, and TKO is giving him control. So uh, I think we're in for a much better year with WWE, with Vince completely out of the picture. Uh, I will always respect him for building that company, but it is absolutely despicable the things he is accused of. And, I don't want to rush to judgment, but there's an awful lot of people that were close to him that are saying, yeah, this is true. So
Wow.
anyway,
I love the Rock when he said, "I want to introduce everybody to the Cody Crybabies." I thought that was tremendous.
and they're coming out with merchandise for that. Of
You
course,
know,
I mean they're going to come out with everything smart.
it's a very smart WB right now. Got the numbers up. AEW still way down in the dumps. 800,000, I think, is the most that
Yeah.
watch his show. I think it could possibly, maybe if he just get off of social media, Tony Khan, he would help himself out tremendously.
Tony Khan did say something today that I totally agreed with, and if he were close enough, I would have patted him on the back because somebody asked him a question: "Are we ever going to see you in the ring like we did Vince McMahon?" And he said, "Nobody wants to see that." And I was sitting in my recliner, and I just
But what was this thing that I watched where here's Sting selling on the on the mat, and he's over there hugging him. What was that all about, Rodney? Did you see this?
I did. I saw what you're talking about. It looked like Sting might have had a little incident. Maybe somebody had decided to lay it in on him, and then here comes Tony out to, help him up as the, eventually. And he protests too much. Am I going to be in the ring? No, 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 never, ever, never. But every time you turn around, it's his face. Every time he's on, it's him. It's something about him. It's never about the TV. By the way, Sasha Banks apparently signed with him, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. WWE has completely taken all the oxygen out of the room. He's barely able to get anything. And if it's something dumb like, oh, I'm not going to get in the ring, he's going to be in the ring, people. He's going to be in the ring. Make no mistake about it, because now it's just a total ego trip for him. And now he did say this past week that he has declared, and of course, when Tony declares something, it's like, it's fantastic. But he has declared that AEW is at peak performance today.
Yeah, that's with those ratings. I don't think I would say that.
I'm going to go ahead
I
while
did enjoy the first like around Christmas where everybody was talking that there was a possibility that Raw was going to end up on Warner Brother Discovery, is going to sign a deal with him, and I enjoyed watching him squirm. That was just great for me. I enjoyed every single moment of watching him sweat like that.
I'm going to go ahead, since it's been a while since we've been on. Hasso is with us. He says, "Evening, gents." Donnie Hester, hey guys, welcome back. You've been missed. Richard Hood, Happy New Year, fellows. I missed you guys. Missed you too. Boxing guy Brian is with us. Hey, my friend. So good to see you again. Hasso, wasn't he the same guy who said he didn't want to be an on-air personality in the beginning?
I
In which
think
he
so.
is.
Oh yeah, he sure did.
I'm
It won't be long until he'll be going out there with Tony Khan shirts, and he'll be ripping them like Hulk Hogan and doing poses in the middle of the ring.
George Lambert is. It feels like old home week. I gotta.
Wait a minute. What does he mean by that?
We know what he means. He's as old as we are, though. So.
Yes, it's true. Hey, I'm gonna ask a question, and I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and while I was Rodney's gonna get while I was on the cruise last week,
Yes.
and I got to stay in the room for a whole day.
With his buddy Chuck.
And I was thinking to myself while I was in between talking to Chuck, I was thinking to myself, when did professional wrestling? When was the end of professional wrestling? What year, Jack, do you think that professional wrestling ended? And I don't know, sports entertainment. I don't. This is not the same thing. There's been sports entertainment, then there's been whatever it is now.
I think that the model, if you want to call that, of what we had always followed, started changing around the mid '80s, and it wasn't an overnight change, but it was an eventual change. I think by the early '90s that there was a lot of times no distinction between what was and what is now. I mean, there was a distinction between what was and what is now. And I think that when Vince was forced to change direction and the Attitude Era started, I thought there was really some good stuff there, but it was still over the top entertainment. Still wasn't what we call a professional wrestling show.
Rodney, what do you think? What happened? What was the turning point that you saw and you said, "Listen, this ain't professional wrestling anymore"?
I pinpointed 1988, 89, somewhere around there. The very moment Jim Crockett sold out to Turner. That to me was the beginning. That was the end of professional wrestling at that point. Because then for basically the first time, you had, of course, Vince, but you had somebody from outside the wrestling business, and then corporate America takes over wrestling and it becomes a clown show. And it is a huge clown show today.
Is what we're watching today? There's no professional wrestling to today's product at all. They try to throw a little bit in it. The Rock stuff is a little close to wrestling, but not to the extent. Professional wrestling actually disappeared in the 1990s, at least by 1990. There was some World Championship Wrestling times that you could probably, take a little bit of piece there and say there was a little bit of wrestling in it in World Championship Wrestling. But it actually did disappear. By 1990, professional wrestling as we know it disappeared, and it has not been professional wrestling since then.
Agree.
You know, has it and I'll ask you, Rodney, the further they got away from professional wrestling, the further they got away from it. did they lose more people constantly? And is the wrestling fan today, is it the same fan? Are they still the same people who are watching wrestling that watched it 20 years ago? Are those people the same people that's watching it now? They're just less of them because they're kind of insulted by the product.
Uh, they are I would say a vast majority are from the before, because what I've seen is that wrestling as we were growing up was passed down from one generation to the other. Grandparents and parents brought the kids to the matches or got them interested in it, and that stopped, especially when your main demographic is men 18 to 34. When that is your demographic at that point, it has nothing to do, and especially with the way that these shows just got very stupid, and then let's just say very adult, especially when it came with ECW. I found that to be the most just a total disaster. When I was sitting watching that, especially with the women pulling the shirts up and the whole 9 yards of that, and it was a total turnoff, especially when you talk about families and being able to pass it on from one generation to the other. No, they say, before we could go, grandparents, parents, and children all together could come to the show. Well, not anymore. They can't do that anymore. They've changed it to a certain bit today because it's more comedy than drama. R-Truth is just a classic example of where they're heading. It's not the comedy is not over, not by a long shot, and he is the poster child for what is clown wrestling today.
I don't watch the show a lot. I don't watch the show. I have seen the snippets of what The Rock did. I've not watched any other portions of it. Jack, have you watched any other portions of the show except for the Rock stuff, or are you watching Lips like I am and not watching the whole show?
No, I've been watching the shows. You know they do have their drama, but they splice that laughter comedy part in there. It's like, oh ho ho, here we go with I Love Lucy, and now we're going to Hawaii Five O. And I think that's why there's not a bigger fan base, because I think people, when I go watch an action movie, those are my favorite actions, mysteries, stuff like that. I don't mind a little light banter between the characters because it establishes that they're human beings.
Yeah.
But if you're blowing up a warship and then you're, telling jokes about it on the way back, I don't like that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people are like me. We want to watch a product and get the product we want to watch. And we don't want this interceding stuff inside. And I love R-Truth. I mean, the guy's, like 109 years old now, and I'm just joking, but he looks phenomenal. I mean, he hasn't aged in 40 years. He just really hasn't. But, the fan base was so much bigger back in our time. And the reason it was bigger was because we presented a constant format. It was drama, it was stories well told, it was wrestlers who could get in there and connect with people. And now it's not so much about those stories, because most of the stories are short lived. With the exception, you've got your bloodline storyline that's been going on for several years and done extremely well, which shows me that they know how to do it, but they only want to do it one at a time. So it's just there's a whole generation our age that I don't really think watches the product anymore that's presented on TV. So they're out there. That's the reason they come to us. That's the reason we have so many hits on our Facebook page, is because there's millions and millions of people out there that is not being served. And there's a whole demographic that I think WWE, AEW, everybody ignores, is those 50 and above, because if you're approaching retirement, let's be honest, the majority of us are a little bit financially more set. Those after retirement, we've got a little extra money to spend. When you're 18 to 24 years old, you're going to have to borrow money from your grandparents, to go to stuff now. Whereas we could spend stuff. I don't go overboard. I'm not loaded, but I buy new T-shirts every month to support somebody out there on the Indies. I subscribe to Peacock so I can watch the pay-per-views. I watch that product. I wish I could watch AEW, and I did last Wednesday, and now I'm in purgatory for about another 3 months. But and I want them so bad to succeed, guys. I really do. And it wouldn't take a lot to turn that company around. But it is what it is. I think there's a bunch of people out there looking for something that's not being given them yet.
I believe people, and we'll transition into something in a minute. I think people want to see professional wrestling, and not only do they want to see professional wrestling, but they want to see the Abdullah the Butcher, the Tommy Rich, the Tony Atlas, the Dusty Rhodes. They don't want to see that cookie cutter same physique. If you watch WWE, almost everyone has the same physique.
Yeah.
There's no really difference, so you don't know the difference. Ronnie, man, do you believe? All right, last 28 days, our Facebook page, Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, it reached 6.8 million unique Facebook accounts, which tells you that there's fans out there and like me that want to see professional wrestling. Rodney, do you think the people that are in those positions now that are doing the big wrestling companies on all the are they just don't think those fans are important, or is it because that demographic's not important to the sponsor?
It's primarily because it's not important to the sponsor. Furthermore, the mentality of the ones running the show. I'll just be blunt. Shawn Michaels, the leg slapping king that's developing all the leg slappers from Ludwig von Leg Slapper, which was a disgrace last evening in Raw. Or we have to watch all the Usos. You have Jey Uso, and then you've got Jimmy Fat Uso over on the other program. It's an embarrassment. Got pretty deadly. Oh, that's television worth watching right there. And then for whatever reason, they decided that it was a good idea to take Sami Zayn and put him in an empty arena with a lady sit beside him, and do an interview in an empty arena, and then have Shinsuke Nakamura, or as I like to call him, Nakamoto, up on the screen. I guess they were afraid that the reaction of the crowd might not be very good about that. Maybe they're afraid that maybe Sammy will go off script. They may have to do the Joe Biden with him and have to do it multiple times before he got it right. It's to me, it's embarrassing. But here is a stat that WWE needs to look at, and all wrestling needs to look at. NFL Super Bowl this past week. Viewership, 123 million. 123 million people. 123, 400 million people watched the show. So don't tell me that, oh, well, we can't do any better. Don't tell me that, well, it's because of all the competition out there. It's because we've got so much going against us. Oh, it's Netflix. You remember the old saying when we were growing up, oh, you don't have a crowd. Everybody can make all the excuses. It's possibly because 7-Eleven was open. There you go. 123 million people watched the Super Bowl.
I have to ask.
I want to say one thing about The Rock. And I think Bully Ray had a comment about The Rock made the rest of them look like little boys. Like The Rock was being wrestling while the other ones were playing wrestling. Did you feel that might be the case? Because he did stand out. He did stand to me. He stood out when he was on the screen. It was all about him. It was nobody else. But did he like? Did he make and honestly, did he make the others look small?
I think right now he did. And he should have because he's a mega star. He's not a WWE superstar anymore.
Yeah.
He's a star
Beyond that,
worldwide,
yeah,
and
he's way
he
beyond that.
should stand out. And I believe in the end, what his intentions are is to build Cody into that number one spot.
Let me
I mean, what gets you over better than to finally beat The Rock?
but let me ask you a question. Do you believe there will be a are there eventually going to be a problem between The Rock and the other people who are running that company because he's going to go out there and do some serious stuff, and then they're going to turn right around and do comedy stuff against what he's trying to do. Will he eventually say, listen, one thing's got to come and go? You're making me, I'm out here being serious, and then 2 hours of the show is a comedy. Do you think eventually he's going to say, listen, one or the other? You think that because
I hope he does.
yeah.
I really do. Because this straddling both sides of the fence, man. You're losing viewers now. You pick one side or the other, you're going to lose viewers. But I think in a short amount of time, you're going to build up the side you're on.
Yeah, and I think Rock, when he does interviews, he talks about professional wrestling.
Yep.
And
He
he
doesn't
did
call
say,
it.
and he makes sure to say professional wrestling. And
Yeah,
I mean, he rubs it right, sticks his thumb right in their eye when he
and
says it, because that's been a
remember,
no-no for years.
remember, $50 million almost worth of stock was given to the Rock, and now he is part of the board of directors. I believe he's going to have a lot of say so in how that company
Yep.
goes forward. And yeah, if I was not certain, I believe he will be the one running that company. Years.
Well,
Well,
and in another thing is that he and Paul have always gotten along well. They have similar visions. So I think Paul's still under several people's thumbs and limited to how far he can go off the road. I know he's wanting to go off some beaten paths, and find something a little different, but he's still being corralled in. And I think that Rock is going to remove a lot of those restraints for him. At least that's my hope, so that they can put heads together. Because Rock's not going to be able to actually come in and manage the shows or run the shows. He's too far committed for that. But if he says, "Hey, let's turn it a little more serious," then I think that he's going to be happy because Triple H understands what he means by that. And
Yes.
he's capable of doing it. And everybody in their position, even Shawn Michaels, is capable of of taking that turn because Shawn come from the territories. He knows what worked back then,
Yeah.
you know,
if
and
he would,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I've been watching NXT. Now I hadn't watched them for a long time, but about the time we took our break, I started watching them every week, and I think they have done a good job of turning it around. It's not as good as when Triple H had it, but if you took the humor and the silly stuff out of it that I think he's expected to put in, it's a pretty good show. He has developed some pretty good guys. Now, when I say develop, I agree with Rodney. They're teaching them and telling them they have to do the leg slaps. You got to have those sound effects. You got to oversell stuff. Uh, I believe if you give him free reign, tell him what direction he needs to go in, but let him go there his way, he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and
And that you have to admit, to Jack, the tremendous acting of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. That was just brilliant.
The
Apparently,
boys
if
are
I was
talented,
boy, that acting was tremendous. Well, the for Trick, who has he has mastered the leg slap well, and he does the drop kick leg slap. And I noticed that even our good buddy Gunther is beginning his own leg slap. So apparently they've told him just go all out with the leg slaps. I've seen some that have not been as bad as before, but I've noticed with him, particularly because I watch him closely, I noticed that he's starting to do it as well. But Trick, the one thing I noticed, and he looks fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The crowd loves him when he comes out, but the leg slaps just total turn off for me.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you're
the
going to
tremendous
see them
action.
everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It won't be long. It won't be long. It won't be long until I mean we're doing body slaps now all over the place as well. Not on top of it. And Damian Priest is the he's the leader of that.
Here's the question I have to ask though: is TKO going to allow that product to become a serious product though, or do they feel like that's their comedy and
Well,
UFC is their real product, so to
I
speak?
believe that they would look at it anyway. I mean, the bottom line on any business, and this is just honesty. I don't care. You're if you think you can make more money doing something different way, you're going to change it. Otherwise, McDonald's would have the same menu they had in 1950.
It's true.
So you make changes where changes need to be made, and if they don't work, then you just pull and wait every now and then and put the McRib out.
And then sell a bunch of
Correct.
them. All right, let's get through some questions. Paul said, "It's been a while, gentlemen. Good to see you again. I have attended a couple of 365 pro wrestling shows here, and I still don't know that. Can Goof? What's how you say that?
Gelf, right? Yeah.
Gelf, I believe, is the way you
Excellent
said it.
independent
Yes.
pro wrestler. Hey, they got any videos? We'll like to.
Hey, and I have seen some of the stuff from that promotion, and they are pretty good. Pretty good. Canada's got some good wrestling organizations.
Mickey Mayfield is with us. Howdy, how you doing, Mickey? Kevin Penley, seeing the Wahoo's picture on the wall. How long was Wahoo's WWF stay? It wasn't very long.
No.
Wasn't very long. I think probably, Wahoo always, if he felt like he didn't get a good payoff, he might go in there and give you a couple chops.
Yeah, and honestly, Strongbow was super over. You're just trying to follow him.
Hasso said that he thinks that the last professional wrestling was in 1989.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that.
Donnie Hester will go to say Black Sunday. What was Black Sunday?
That
That's
was
where Vince took over on TBS.
yeah.
Remember,
I thought that was Black Saturday.
that was Saturday as well. There was 2 days in that. Both were dark.
Oh, well, that might
That whole weekend was not very good.
be. I'm gonna tell you, well, that's some of the worst shows. WWF has some of the worst shows in the history of
That was
professional
awful.
wrestling. Ted Turner was probably thinking, "Man, I got to get these people off my network."
No, no doubt. My goodness, occasionally he would send the game guys, but
AC Joe French believes when the stars of Crockett, Georgia Championship Wrestling, went to New York. But there was a time that New York WWF was really a good pro wrestling company.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning of his reign into like WrestleMania 3, 4, 5, they had some great wrestling there.
Yeah.
Pat Patterson developed some great wrestling at that point in time. So Michael Barr is with us, I believe. I believe that's going to be Michael. Hello, better late than never.
Hey, buddy.
We're not going to give any at this point. There's going to be no fines or nothing levied since we just got back. But now, 2 or 3 weeks from now, listen, the fines have to come back at some point. Mickey, so today it's about the promo, not the match. Yeah, and unfortunately, there's too much talking.
Yeah.
Boxing.
everybody just waits with bated breath to listen to 20 minutes of Cody or Seth Rollins. I'm not which one I enjoy better, worse.
Has Cody always had that lisp like he has?
That's
Oh,
him.
it used to be really bad.
He spits on everybody. I am just shocked. I thought at one time I thought there was a water cannon when he was doing a thing in Las Vegas. He
Hey,
come out there with a water cannon and he was shooting, and
If
it was just Cody talking.
if I remember correctly, Vince had him to go start seeing a voice coach to kind of get over that.
wow, because
That was their, his first run.
it's real. I mean, I didn't never noticed it until he talked about uh, and Ben, you gotta give the wrestling fans of WB like Cody Rhodes. And I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not a big fan, but I don't have to be because I don't watch the product enough to be a fan. Boxing,
Well,
I thought it was a nice touch when he brought his dog, his white dog, on the leash.
Pharaoh's going to be his tag team champion at some point. But now he does connect with that fan base,
yeah, he does.
and he's one of those few that is actually doing that. LA Knight is doing it, not to the degree that Cody is, but he does have a touch with a lot of that fan base.
Wrestling started dying. This is boxing guy and Brian. Wrestling started dying when Florida. Did he say is that Florida? Is that what
Yeah.
they said? Florida couldn't draw, and Vern's product started to become a cartoon like the WWF. But Vince proclaiming sports entertainment killed the wrestling we love.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Possible.
Richard Hood, when Vince McMahon said that wrestling wasn't a sport, it never was a sport.
Of course, Vince wasn't the first guy to ever say that.
No,
I mean, that goes back to the 1920s. So, the business has always overcome the idiocy part. But, the older guys that you talk to, like I said, 1985, I talked to Lou Thez in the locker room, and he was bemoaning how bad wrestling was in 1985. So, it's a perspective thing, but I definitely understood what he was coming from.
Jack Pfeffer was probably one of the world's worst at telling what was going on in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
And then get back in the business after he had told people about it. But I don't believe you can kill the wrestling business.
Helped Vince McMahon Sr. establish WWE, Capital Sports.
Pro wrestling does not have the kayfabe rules as yesteryear's wrestling. Territories in wrestling great as well. There are no more territories. Yeah, well, even if there wasn't any territories, though, there's no professional wrestling, which we're going to try to fix that in our small way.
I hate to, as you know, I despise people who talk about people. You know that. I just find that disrespectful. I just don't do it. But with that being said, all right, Cody Rhodes just had a very and this is what Brent was talking about, and I think The Rock will eventually, if he has any pull or any stroke at all, he'll put an end to it. But Cody cannot just be slapped on national television and act like I'm going to be fighting, and then come out on Raw and just walk down the aisle. He cannot come down there and do that stupid grimace that he does and the smiling at people and then have to do his interview. There's no emotion there. It's all said, okay, the music stops. I'm going to stop smiling, and then I'm going to start my little speech. He's got to be determined from the time he walks from the back to the ring. He cannot be doing all this little stuff. It's got to be a time where, okay, this is the point. This is why I'm here. Instead of, okay, I'm going to do showbiz first and showbiz most. That's what's most important. And then that grimace, that smile, as I have said before, looks like that he suffers from male PMS, that he's out there, that stupid smile on his face. You can't do showbiz and then you want to go in there and do serious stuff. It's just not possible. But you're going to have to pick, just like Jack says, you got to pick a lane. Can't do both.
Michael also said, "No heels or faces." I just found out how I can read this thing. There's a little magnifying glass out there. I didn't know it was there till right now. No heels or faces today, as there were years ago, and I think that's the one thing in professional wrestling at some point they quit having heels and baby faces. In the late 80s and 90s, wrestling is just not a push as it used to be. No storylines. And there's no storylines inside wrestling matches. They don't tell a story within a match. Uh, let's see here. Dennis Mitchell. Dennis Mitchell is with us, and he says, well, all right. I've hit the wrong one. Uh, Dennis Mitchell, guys, I am glad you're back. And Vinnie Mac is no longer Teflon, and it's called Karma. I'm sure Ole Anderson is happy at Vince McMahon's demise. July 14th, 1984 was a bad day for wrestling fans. Vinnie Mac took over, I think, at World Championship Wrestling time slot because Bruce Pritchard be in trouble and your action to Scott D'Amore. Is that what he?
Yeah, that's who I believe he's talking about.
Being let go at TNA. Your thoughts? Thank you, Dennis Mitchell, number one wrestling fan, Montgomery, Alabama. I'm wondering Charlie Platt's reaction to Vinnie Mac's demise and others watching this. Guys, let's look at that for just a second. Would Ole be happy?
Yeah, if there was somebody punching him on the way out the door, he would be ecstatic. I think he knew what kind of person that Vince was. And people can say what they want about Ole Anderson, but you never had to worry if you knew if Ole was mad at you or not, if he was pleased with you or not. You knew where you stood with him, and he wasn't changing his mind every 5 seconds about what's going on. He didn't like Vince from the get-go. And now we see over the course of that career, and I'm not talking about the criminal charges, I'm talking about the way he ran the company. He could at times be brilliant, but most of the time, especially when he didn't have competition, it was just, this is my show and I'm putting on what I want to see. And that cost him millions of followers, but the sponsor money was coming in and paying, so he didn't care.
Yep. Rodney, Bruce Pritchard, will he be? Do you think that he'll be in? I mean, there's going to be a lot of people going to go down for this, I believe.
Only time will tell. I'm not sure right now. If I figured if Bruce was going to be gone, he would already been gone. I would figure at this point, but we'll see. Only time will tell. It's sad. It's a sad situation to be sure. But yeah,
well,
as far as I know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, from what I've read, they're still looking, still investigating, getting ready to dump whoever they're going to dump, and it should be within the next couple of weeks. So we'll find out. And real quick, Scott D'Amore getting fired from TNA was because he continually butted heads over budget. They did not want to give him money to make the product bigger, and he was making such strides with what the budget was, regardless. And he was, it's not my style of wrestling. I can't even get it where I live, but they were making progress. The fan base was building, the numbers were going up, and he still wanted more money. And they thought, well, it's on the way up. We don't have to put more money into it. Let's just get rid of him because we're tired of hearing him griping. And I did change my griping at the last second. But he has gone now back to Border City Wrestling, which is where I think he was part owner or maybe total owner. But anyway, he posted a picture yesterday back in the ring with that billboard behind him. And, he made a lot of contacts, regardless of what anything else going on. He knows a lot more people now. Maybe he can get sponsorship and give somebody else a run for their money.
I saw a spot promoting their show. Without a shadow of a doubt, the worst spot I had ever seen in my entire life. It had nothing to do with wrestling whatsoever. Nothing. It was the spectacle, the drama, the whatever. What else? It was all about showbiz. It was something like you would see in a movie type thing, a movie preview of some kind. It was embarrassing for one thing. But it had nothing to do with the wrestling. Had nothing to do with the in-house in-ring stuff. It was all about the drama, the soap, and the writing. It was not even anything close to what.
About like what the scaffold match did to Mid South Wrestling.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Folks, if you ever want to kill your territory, have a scaffold match. It'll kill it. There's no way to make a scaffold match look right. I mean, is anybody really going to fall off the freaking thing? No. They're either going to hang from it, and they're going to get. I mean, And then they kept on putting the things higher and higher.
I will maybe WWE might have one, and I would suggest Austin Theory.
Richard Hurt said the day he thought pro wrestling disappeared was Vince turned wrestling into a cartoon on the mainstream level in the mid-90s. Donnie Hester. Hey, this makes it much better when you look at this thing and you're able to read it. Donnie Hester, sorry, all meant to say Black Saturday. I got rusty without your podcast. All right. Let's see. Boxing Guy and Brian. Wrestling was always a niche product, but that niche. Am I saying that right?
Niche, yes.
Niche.
Okay. Now it's much smaller. Memphis Wrestling drew almost as many viewers a week just in Memphis as AEW does worldwide, and WWE's aren't so great. Yeah, it's incredible amount of that. I'm very surprised, and we've talked, me and Rodney and Jack talked about how many people visit our Facebook page. At one point, it was almost 9 million unique people who came to it and looked at it and was a part of it and looked at something and made some kind of comment. It's incredible. Kevin Finley wants to know, Rodney, if you can he can get your Netflix password.
The only problem is that I don't have a Netflix account, or I'd share it with you for sure. I don't have one. I just break into Brent's house and use his for me.
Mike Sampson, old wrestling was the best. Today's wrestling is not good. I'm not going to say today's wrestling. Today's product for what it is all
Mike,
right. It's
Mike,
not professional wrestling, though. It's not professional wrestling.
Mike, I will concur with you at this time, and I didn't want to talk about it, as you know. I don't. And I understand that some of you people really like LaKnight. But if there is anyone on the face of the planet that has dropped the ball more than ever, is he. Triple threat match on SmackDown. If anyone has the opportunity to see it, with AJ Styles, Randy Orton Jr., also known as Randy Orton Jr., and LaKnight. Right in the middle of the match, they were going to do the old spot where the clothesline, LaKnight was going to clothesline AJ Styles over the top rope. Well, AJ didn't make it. And instead of just picking up and trying to do something, they stood there and looked at each other and talked. Well, what are we going to do now? Repeatedly. And instead of doing the Kevin Sullivan, kicking him in the groin and then out from underneath the rope to get him on the outside of the ring, no. We stand there and look at each other, and AJ finally calls a spot. They're doing this live on national TV. And I guarantee you, did anyone say anything about it? Probably not. But instead, I think as Tony Khan was complaining about some match that they were going to have, it was the Seth Rollins, what was the guy, the name with the turban guy, whatever he was, getting a championship match. That was his main thing while that disaster took place. I mean, it was a disaster.
Now, remember, I do not like the tribute artist.
Okay, well, I'm okay with if the tribute artist, okay, but that was disgusting. Absolutely. I mean, and it goes to the fact that they don't work every night. That's the problem. They don't work. They're not experienced. If anybody would have messed up like that, they would have fixed it. That would have been Dutch Mantel and Wendell Cooley. They would have done something. Dutch would just snatched him by the head, turned him around, and threw him out of the ring. But no, we have to call a spot. Shoot me in the ropes. Shoot me in the ropes. It was awful. I think this was about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago that happened, right
Yep.
before the Royal Rumble. It was disgusting.
Joel French said they need a Soley, a Flair, a Bob Armstrong type person in their show. Someone different, unique. You think about how unique Bob Armstrong was, how unique
It was a
he was
once in a lifetime guy.
to the. He could take and make a. He could make anything a headlock so interesting. He could make an armbar so interesting. Bob had that ability to tell a story, and he could tell a story with a headlock. Now that shows you because he was so much different than Wrestling 2 was. He was different than Tony Atlas. He was different than Dusty Rhodes. Wrestling 2, Wrestling 1. He was a completely different type of wrestler than the rest of the guys were. And that's what made him so unique and why he drew so much money in the wrestling business because he was that unique. Plus, he could do the interview, or as the young folks say, promo. I don't want the young people not to understand.
Are you have to translate what you're talking about, Brett?
Yes, I'm about to translate it here.
I'm going to say one thing. I have enjoyed Nick Aldis. Nick has been, I think, doing a fine job as general manager. And I really enjoyed where they were doing the contract signing. It was something that they'd never done before, of course, a contract signing on the program. And Paul Heyman come out there and said that Roman Reigns will not be signing that contract tonight. This was when they were doing the fatal four-way whatever thing for the Royal Rumble, and he said, "Well, that's fine. That's fine. I've got the three participants, willing participants here. We'll just make it a triple threat for the vacated Universal Championship." And I thought that was brilliant. I loved it. I watched that a few times. I enjoyed that. Paul Heyman did a great job as well, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Paul is great.
But I'm really liking what they're doing with Nick. Nick has got style.
He does.
Kevin Finley, do you think the USA Network will go with another promotion after the first year or be replaced by NCIS?
Uh, Now they're getting SmackDown,
Right.
so I think they're going to feel that need of having a wrestling promotion. Just they're going to feel that need just fine with that. The only thing that they're losing is the one extra show, which is NXT now. But they're still maintaining one of the two top shows.
Michael said, right, Brett, I want to see old school style of wrestling. And I think a lot of people want to see that. And we see that on a daily basis. Now, if I can figure out how to get this. All right, let's see. Kevin Penley, I love spell check. Yes, I always love it.
Hey, man, AI has hit about every product that I have, and I have said some of the stupidest things in Messenger.
Boxing guy Brian said there is a much bigger audience for classic wrestling than there is for today's product. Shoot interviews and history site books do better than the actual contemporary product, and we agree with that. We agree with that, and that's the reason. Saturday, April 6th, Jack, we're going to be doing a show coming from a small studio arena in Huntsville, Alabama. It looks like the old school uh, television studio.
Yeah, it actually seats more people than I was expecting when I went over there. And I have actually booked shows in that same place years ago, and we always drew great crowds there. But the guy that owns it now has done a really great job of going in there. He's put stadium seating in. He's got there's ringside chairs on the floor. It's just a really nice setup, and I think it's going to serve our purposes greatly for filming what we're doing.
And it's going to be old school professional wrestling. And it will be aired on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. We've got 3 shows scheduled. Saturday, April 6th is the first show. I think tickets can be bought on Pro Wrestling Inside Out.net. I think that we're not telling people we're going to be the next big wrestling company, But what we want to do is produce an old school wrestling product that we loved, and that the people, the 8 million and 10 million people that'll sometime come to our page, will appreciate seeing. And it's just to bring wrestling back to the people. Now, there is a larger scale to this, but we'll get past the we'll go here first, and we'll gradually tell you more about where we're going to go with this.
This is our building year.
Yeah.
Today, this year is dedicating to just building the base product, of seeing where we need to make changes ourselves on the management side, where we need to make changes on talent. Although I think we've got some of the best independent talent out there that can actually wrestle. Um, Next year, it's going to grow
Yeah.
exponentially.
And so this year is going to be we have a major plan. Stick with us, because you're going to be, especially the insiders are going to be able to be a major part of what we have in store in 2025. So it's going to be a building process. But if you're in the Hansville area, Saturday, April 6th, the start time is 7 p.m. Get over there and get your tickets. They're only $20 for ringside, $15 for general admission. And I think in these days and times, that's pretty cheap compared to the $200 tickets for WWE.
Well, you don't get the water show when you watch Cody, though.
Hey, did they have to put up? They talk about, did they have to put up the little thing like they do, like when you go to SeaWorld Splash Zone?
They need to.
Uh,
Remember the thing DX did with Sergeant Slaughter about wearing the face mask with the wiper on it? It reminds me of that.
Let's see, books like The Wrestler's Wrestler. There you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Let's see.
All right, let's.
I got it somewhere.
Kurt is with us as well. Kurt said, "Hey guys, been a while." There it is, The Wrestler's Wrestler, available on Amazon. Doug Masters is with us as well. Doug Masters says, "Hello, gentlemen." Michael Barr, hello all. Richard Hood, what's up, Michael Barr? Kevin Penley, The Rock. Nick Khan knew each other for years, so I think Nick Khan's
Best friends growing up in Hawaii.
There you go.
And Nick Khan's sister is big in The Rock's multimedia company. So.
The Rock does say pro wrestling. He would be the man to help. I think he's saying WWF. I still think TNT and TBS is missing the boat by not
Absolutely
not talking to Vince McMahon and putting WCW on there. I just think that's a. But hey, what is Shane McMahon doing now? Does anybody know?
He was over some kind of tech development company that was in China for several years. I'm not sure if he still has anything to do with that, but he's involved in several businesses of his own. And of course, there's been stories coming out. I don't know that they're verified, so I'm saying what I read. I'm not verifying what I read, but that he was being pushed by Vince to be a part of that lifestyle Vince wanted, and he wanted no part of it. And that's why he left the company 10 years ago.
We might know what was going on at the time. Shane and Stephanie decided to get out.
Yeah.
We might know.
I mean, your own kids don't abandon the family business unless there's a fire in there, you know.
Did The Rock ever wrestle in a territory? He did wrestle the Memphis territory.
Memphis,
I think that's the only one he worked in, right?
Yeah.
He goes from the Memphis territory right directly to what became as Rocky Maivia.
He was Flex Kavana.
Yes.
And he and our friend Bull Buchanan were roommates while they were there.
Hey, whatever anybody does, do not defriend whoever this Nancy is. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of this person, but do not defriend this person. I think it's some bot. So don't.
Yeah.
Let's see, Kevin Penley. Yeah, that's a. I'm trying to get past Nancy that's decided to come on as a bot. I think that's the first time that's ever happened on our live stuff. Daniel Lang, Russell Trivia Challenge would like to acknowledge Rodney West as our season one champion, beating out Jack by one correct answer. Brett received award.
I'm still waiting on my cigar, Daniel, for second place.
Richard Hood did talk about Memphis. Uh, let's see. Yes, I know. Michael, we see her. I don't know how to get rid of her. They've changed this since we've done the last live, and I don't know how to get rid of the people who used to. There used to be a button you just hit, and it got
Yeah, we'll go in there when the show's over and get her out.
yeah. Daniel Lang, Wahoo spent 6 months in the WWF in the beginning of 1965. Wahoo and Bruno were an incredible team, but the Hills kept the U.S. titles away from them. Back when wrestling was wrestling.
Yeah,
I still say 1970s was the best time for wrestling.
I agree.
That was some of the best stuff. What about those crazy? What about those crazy suits Seth Rollins wears?
I enjoyed what Roman Reigns said about Cody. Just go back over there and stand with the guy in the goofy green suit. I think the goofy guy in the green suit. I love that.
Well, Seth is making people look at him. I mean, is he any really different from a Gorgeous George or anybody else, that always dressed, wildly? I think it's great. I wouldn't wear it.
I noticed last night he had that Fred Flintstone jacket on.
He's spending a lot of money on stuff. I have to
Yeah,
give him.
it's a tax write off. And hey, he's got a hot redhead in his corner, so there's that.
Riot Cody walked up to the ring in your wrestling attire and get ready to wrestle. Start the storyline and get the crowd's attention. Michael Barr, let's see. Vince McMahon could not hit the floor. He fell on it. Kevin Penley, since Johnny blew Vince's case by saying, "I'm a victim too," how does Vince defend himself? Johnny said it happened. I don't know how you defend yourself in that. I'm not listening. I'm gonna have to listen. I don't know much about what's going on, but evidently Dutch Mantel does a long.
Yes. Dutch covers this in great detail and so much better than what we could. But yeah, I saw that where Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis, for everybody. Yeah, he turned on Vince. Full heel turn for a guy who was a legit heel in real life. It's surprising, isn't it?
Kevin Penley, how will Steve Austin be using this angle? He has said he will do another match.
Well, he said he's open to another match, so I don't know if that means he'll do one this year, although that clock is ticking, on him ever being able to do stuff. But, they're smart. They'll know what to do something with him. I wouldn't mind seeing him and who was it he wrestled on the last pay-per-view?
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. I thought they did an excellent street fight type match.
Daniel Lang, in your guys' opinion, how beneficial was it for Memphis wrestling ratings and attendance that had no competition from professional sports league? But see, if you go back and you look at the different years of Memphis, even they would even do bad business. Business was bad even when they didn't have. It was about what they was producing. We're going to start looking at 1980s starting in March on the Facebook page. We're going to talk more about 1980s the whole year and talk about how they had a roller coaster. It was always about the booking, and I think that when you look at how Memphis when they stopped drawing, and we started calling it the run-in show, they really didn't do anything but run-ins,
Hmm.
bad booking. And if you'll go back and look at some of the booking that they did, when they start doing the same thing over and over again, I think I think it was good that sometimes Bill Dundee would leave and he'd be gone for a year and a half, 2 years, because he would bring back. He wouldn't be just keep potentially doing the same old stuff. And I think that's what happened to Memphis. But I don't think it had anything to do with the professional sports leagues, because there was, WWF was doing tremendous business at there, while the rest of these people were doing. I think they would have done as good at that point in time, because the product at that time was a whole lot more believable. Jerry Jarrett said the worst thing about wrestling is not believable. He should know, because he produced some things at the end of it.
Yeah. And even though there weren't other TV company type shows running against them, you still had independent wrestling going all the way around Memphis. All the way around in Continental. Because I worked for those shows back in the day. We drew tremendous crowds. Did we hurt Continental? No, I don't. I don't think we ever cost them a ticket. We, and that wasn't our deal back then. We were just riding on the back of some great wrestling.
And it was doing great. And from
Yeah.
1985, 86, 87, it didn't, at that point, at the first of 1980, everybody was doing good business.
Yep.
Didn't matter. It was just, when it's hot, it's hot. And when it's not, it's not. I mean, I guess that's.
I remember Ron West talking about there was a time period then that if you rode into town the day of the show and put a sign up at the four-way crossing in the center of town that said wrestling tonight, you'd pack it out.
Yeah.
That's how popular wrestling was back then.
Yeah. Michael Barr, it's, is it me, or does Seth Rollins' championship belt look better than that of the heavyweight belt and the others?
Oh, I agree with that.
I don't know that I don't watch I just watch snippets of the show. Let's see. What's causing all this? Jimmy
It's
James.
Rodney. It's always Rodney.
It is. He's always the troublemaker. He's always the troublemaker. Bring back studio wrestling. I think I think, Jack, if I would think we're probably where we're going to be doing this show, it's going to be closer to the studio wrestling than anything that
It absolutely is.
you know. With old school commentators, let me ask you: it's can you get any old school than Michael St. John? That's who's going to be doing the commentary for
Yep.
our show. So,
A couple of young guys that's going to be happy are going to be working with him. That's extraordinary talents.
let's see. I feel like a jilted lover catching you with your new interest. Let's see. Rodney, Brent, and Jack. I just do not want to see it. I want to be a part of it. That's true. Let's see. Crazy lady. Does anybody know a crazy lady?
Are you talking about my ex-wives?
I'll be there. I'll be there. Whoever crazy lady.
We appreciate Crazy
Oh,
Lady.
that's
our
Tanya.
picture.
Tanya.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. She said I'll be there. Crazy lady. Jimmy James. I still love you boys. Jack, not so much.
Yeah. I
Back
missed you, Jimmy, but my aim's getting better.
back in the day, kayfabe wrestling. We're going to talk about rules too. Next week, I want to talk about the National Wrestling Alliance rules and how important they were to storyline wrestling and old school wrestling, and how important they were. I've got them all typed up and ready, and we'll talk about the National Wrestling Alliance, the rules that they had, and the reason those rules were in place. Most of the time, they had to be in place because of commissions. You had to have rules. So, what is meant when wrestlers say they pay their dues, Jack?
Well, that means another way of saying you earned your spot. That means you came in and you worked your way up the card until you were a bigger draw for the company. And the best part about all this is every time you change territories, you had to do it all over again. But that is paying your dues. That's earning the respect of the bookers, the promoters, that they see they can rely on you. It's proven to those fans that you're going to deliver top tier matches, that you're going to be entertaining, that you're going to engage with them on a personal level. That doesn't mean going home and having supper with them. That just means that they can identify with you, that you are one of them, especially if you're a babyface. And if you're a heel, you got to be the baddest heel that ever walked the planet. And engaging with you means they hate your guts. And if that happens, you've done your job. You've paid your dues.
Rodney, we went over Hercules Hernandez's career. I don't know that video has hit Facebook yet or YouTube, but we watched him from for 2 years pay his dues before he got there.
That's right. Probably got that hot dog and Dr. Pepper.
And then we talked about Lex Luger, who didn't pay his dues.
He did not.
Exactly.
No, he did not. No, there was a difference, and there was a difference in the way both wrestled as well.
Yeah,
think about it. There's a difference between night and day between Hercules Hernandez and Lex Luger.
It's man. Have y'all heard this Billy Jack Haynes? Man, he shot his wife, or I don't know if it's his wife or not because it didn't have the same. I don't know. Is his name actually Billy Haynes?
No. Well, maybe I can't remember right now, but they were either married or they lived together as husband and wife. So,
I believe he is legitimately crazy.
I talked to him a few years ago, and boy, I regretted that.
I just Jacques Rougeau asked. He sent a thing. He said everybody asked back in the day if he was crazy. Says he believed he was crazy then. He was crazy back in the day.
And over the last 10 years or so, he's come out with some stories that I can't believe that hasn't stirred some criminal investigations of things that he had claimed to do. He was out there.
Mickey Mayfield, best years for wrestling, mid-70s, best venue, Atlanta Municipal Auditorium, best promotion, Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'm going to say yes to all that.
Absolutely.
Jimmy James said that happy to find you again. I don't do Facebook. He doesn't get on Facebook. Also, real life issues equal ratings. Jerry Jarrett. Point is, he knew that audience liked drama. Yes. Let's see. How many wrestlers did any of you know as, what does that say?
Tweeners. They're not heel, they're not baby. If you're talking about everybody in the business now, which you are, I know a lot of them.
Daniel Lang, Jack, I don't have any cigars for you, but I do have a couple more old wrestling mags.
Hey, I'll take them. I was actually looking through this last stack that you sent me.
George Goulas would make a great commentator.
I would say we probably would.
Yeah, I actually got to see George a few months ago. We had a big reunion up in Tennessee, and I had a great time. I've always enjoyed being around George. He's very articulate. He's smart. He knows that he was caught between a rock and a hard place. Daddy's kid ain't never gonna get the respect he should, and he didn't have the skill level that everybody else did, that people had to carry him. He didn't deny that. And I'll tell you the one thing he said at the end of our conversation. He said, there's a lot of guys even here at the reunion talking about how Dad shorted them on pay. And he said, but you know what? Dad didn't own leg irons. Nobody had to stay. They could have left.
That's true.
George was not as bad as people said. There were wrestlers that were equally as bad. If people said he was bad, it was equally as bad. I've watched a few of them.
I'll be honest. I have gone to independent shows in the last couple of years that I would rather have seen George in the main event, seriously, than what I saw there. because at least he understood the business.
He could sell.
Yeah.
He could sell. Indeed, Jack Hill Wrestler has to be the very worst crowd displeaser to help draw to the face, both working together, and that is true. Boxing guy Brian, he talks about Billy Jack is a messed up story, tragic and sad, but not enough details revealed. Yeah, there's not a lot of details involved with that you know too much about that. Hey, does Jacques Rougeau still do his podcast?
I'm not sure.
I don't know that it may be in French anyway, so I don't know.
Well, I know that he hasn't done a lot of stuff because his wife's been having cancer treatments.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Always.
super guy.
Yeah. Rodney's first place prize is on the way. It's Terry Taylor's new book, How I Became a Wrestling Superman.
With the subtitle being Slap Happy.
That's right. I was thinking about that for a moment. I said, do I want to use that as toilet paper? And then I thought to myself, the irritation from Terry Taylor would be, unbearable. And then I thought I would flush it down the toilet, but then that would cost me several thousands of dollars to get the whole thing pumped. Because how many flushes would it take? That's the question.
Boxing guy Brian, I wish I could get down there for the show. If there's anything I can do for y'all up here in Buffalo, let us know. And you will be able to watch it. We'll be putting together about 20 minutes each week of the show and with interviews and stuff. So,
and to be quite honest, I wish that I could take another show up to that area. I was up there 20-something years ago and took a show up there, and one of the most successful shows I've ever done. So it's a great area for wrestling. So find us a sponsor for $1 million. We'll be on our way.
Hey, there's Andy.
Andy McDaniel. Hey guys, he's got a book as well. You can buy on Amazon.
Reunion at County Hall. I think there's a video. I think his video was coming out too.
Yeah, did the video ever come out?
I believe if I'm not mistaken, I saw a clip. I believe if I'm not telling the truth there, let us know, Andy. But I believe I saw a clip. Several clips.
Michael Barr, great to be back watching Pro Wrestling Inside Out with all our friends here. Jimmy James, every nut is a sad, tragic case. No, they're simply messed up, the victim said. Sure, Billy Jack. Man, yeah, he is. He is out there, man. Let's see. Well, I thought, is that not working? Is it working, or am I just...
Well, it's popping up.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Actually, Jack, I may have something to help you out. Pop me up after the show.
I certainly will. Which I appreciate Brian catching up with me yesterday and checking on me. It's been great. I've been transparent about the mental struggles that I've had ever since my son died last year, and man, so many of y'all have private messaged me to check on me, especially through the holidays, and I can never express how grateful that I am for that. You guys will never know how much that helped
me. Michael Barr said, being I'm not wearing black irons, I guess I'll... and then we'll hit this, and then we'll get off of here. Andy, that is a fantastic book. I got my copy from Boxing Guy Brian. We're going to end this. Thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We certainly do appreciate it. We have grown in the last 3 months. We have grown incredible. 3,000 Facebook followers in just 3 months, and we certainly do appreciate it. I think we're almost 77,000 insiders now. And we certainly do appreciate it. And that's just the people who will follow us. The people that come and see us, it's in the millions now. And we certainly do appreciate it because you share our stuff. And we certainly do appreciate it. And we want everybody to know, if you're in the Hanceville area, be a part of that show on Saturday, April 6th. I think you'll enjoy it. If you like old school wrestling, you're going to enjoy it.
And it's the arena is not far off I-65, so anybody that comes up that way, we're kind of between Birmingham and Huntsville.
And I think you'll enjoy it. Old school wrestling fans
Yeah.
will certainly enjoy it. Rodney, last final comments before we leave.
I'm so looking forward to the great Power Hour on the CW app with the National Wrestling Alliance, the fabulous TV champion versus TV champion as the women's television champion faces the men's television champion. That would be Max the Impaler versus Mim. But however, I don't know which one is which champion.
I will give a plug here. Everybody has made comments to me about am I ever going to get back in the ring, and I really had no plans to. But this big fundraiser show is coming up March the 9th in Russellville, Alabama. The poster and stuff is on my Facebook page if y'all want to go peruse that. But this is more than likely the absolute last time I will ever wear spandex, which, by the way, only stretches so far. But I was informed tonight I'm the main event. So, come out if you guys want
All
to.
right.
I'm coming prepared.
Hey, we will share that on our Facebook page as well. So I'll go over there and take that from Jack's page and put it on our Facebook page as well. Thank you so much. We'll see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out.